Hello and welcome everyone to another edition of the Playbook for Performance podcast. I'm your host, Coach Shauna Corden. This is podcast 50. We're at the 50 mark. It's amazing. So we started this off last year and we've been releasing weekly. We've got lots of topics out there and we would love to hear from you about what your favorites are. So this month's theme is about finding joy and being a little less cranky, making the experience for our coworkers be a little bit more pleasant. And today our idea is really to pick your poison. And that is, what is your happiness at work strategy? So last week we talked about kind of amplifying the pieces of your work pie that are the most rewarding, most satisfying, diminishing the ones that are least satisfying, or eliminating them altogether. And depending if you're an Elizabeth Gilbert fan, you may or may not agree with the idea that every position has its own blank sandwich. But and then the week before that, we were really kind of talking about, do not be that guy at work. Do not drag your attitude all over the place and make everyone miserable. So we're really trying to position you to be an agent of your own happiness, because happiness really is a choice. And if we look at the work from people like Bronnie Ware and others, when they have interviewed people on their deathbed, one of the things that they have said is, I wish I would have allowed myself to be happy. They recognized that happiness was a choice. And so we can choose to be happy at work as well. So let's think most about what is affecting your happiness. Is it the sandwich tasks? Is it people, or something else? So is it the bad stuff that's affecting your happiness so much at work? Or are the wonderful parts of your work, who you work with, what you get to do, travel or not travel, working from home, things like that? What is the thing that really affects your happiness? I read a wonderful thing in the Wall Street Journal a few days ago about one company's strategy was, yes, you need to come back into work, full-time back in the office. However, for 2 months of the year, and I believe they designated fall and spring, you may work from wherever you want in the world. So Costa Rica, Iceland, Kentucky, wherever you want to be, you get to work from there 2 months of the year. You don't have to be in the office. I thought it was ingenious. I thought it was very clever. I'm a big fan of routine. As much as I love travel, I'm going to come home to my espresso machine, my Tempur-Pedic bed, all that kind of stuff. And I love that, having that routine. So that's part of our need for certainty, but we also need variety, and that's probably the travel piece. And so I thought it was a great recognition of how we as humans are really wired. It gives people autonomy, even when they're insisting that you come back to work. So, and I would love to hear from you. If you are one of those people who was allocated that decision, how are you accepting that? Are you happy about it? Are you unhappy about it? Do you feel like it was a good meeting of the minds, etc.? I'm joking that the polarity, so those of you who've been listening to the podcast, I've been writing a book about how polarity is really affecting our society. And in my research, one of the things that people have made very clear is that we are never, ever, ever getting back together. So cue Taylor Swift. We are not getting back together. When I ask people, hey, if you had a system that would negotiate this, would you take advantage of it? They're like, nah, I'm good. And I'm like, oh, really? So that the peacemaker part of me is really, I'm sad about it. Although I have a colleague, bless her heart, she said, well, Shauna, sometimes people aren't really sure about what they want. If, Henry Ford said if he would have asked people, they would have said a faster horse, not a car. And so that may be true. That may be true. So But talking about your happiness, let's get back to this. What is it that you want to focus on? Do you want to focus on making sure that people know that the wonderful parts are the things that make you come to work each day and be excited? Or do you want to work on correcting those sandwich tasks, people, something else? So it all comes down to, and I was just talking about this, the analysis of our routines, our behaviors, our habits. So there's some estimation that 80% of our behavior is habitual. So if you think about when you get in the shower, you probably do things in the exact same order all the time. And this automatic behavior frees up our brain to problem solve, daydream, etc. And that's why people have amazing ideas while they're driving, while they're in the shower, things like that, because their brain is free. They've mastered the art of driving a car. They have mastered the art of taking a shower, even if it means sometimes they shampoo twice. So if you think about this, can we affect our routines, our behavior, our habits, and wire them to most amplify your happiness? So that's our project for this week. We're going to look at that. So there's a class that I often teach called 10 Daily Habits. And I've mentioned it before on the podcast, but it really is important for today as well in terms of not being that jerk at work, but making people happier with what's happening around you. So 10 daily habits. These are things that feed you. They are things that make you happy. They're things that you really enjoy. They are also things that you may not necessarily enjoy, but you enjoy the results. So I know a lot of people who are not thrilled about sweating, but they are delighted that they can fit in all their clothes. They may not be thrilled to take their vitamins, but they are happy to ward off illness. But it could also be other things. So of late, during COVID, for some reason, I did not read nearly as much as I have read in the past. So usually I was reading a book a week. And I'm a pretty fast reader. But during COVID, you'd think I'd just go crazy reading, but I really didn't. And over this summer, I just was determined to get back into it, and I have been reading quite a bit of late, and it's something that I really enjoy, something that makes me happy. The other thing that is kind of a daily habit that I dropped, but I have reassumed, is doing the daily crossword in pen. That drives my husband crazy. It's like, huh? So what are things that feed you? So and let me brainstorm with you some of the things that my clients have shared in the past that have been really rewarding for them. Drinking enough water. So I worked with a nutritionist years ago who said this 8 glasses a day is ridiculous because Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and a toddler are not the same size. Why would they both need to drink 8 glasses a day? Good point. So half of your body weight in ounces. So if you weigh 200 pounds, you want to drink 100 ounces. And some people may find that they can tolerate more than others. I'd ramp up over a few days. Otherwise, you might find you're taking a lot more trips to the toilet than you'd like. But drinking water is one of them. Doing some form of exercise doesn't have to be sweating. It could be a gentle walk outside. So outside is a super popular one with my clients. Meditation, again, doesn't have to be, lotus position, Om, but it could be, quiet, systems off, not talking, not listening, but just focusing on breathing, starting small, 1 minute, and working up. Another one is to do something creative, fun. For some people, it might be cooking, it might be drawing, it might be listening to music, creating playlists, things like that. It could be taking a step towards something that you're looking forward to. So it could be helping plan a trip. It might be planning a social event, big or small, going to the movies or a big party, things like that. But looking forward to something in the future. And gratitude. Keeping a journal or even a mental checklist, but I think a journal reinforces it even more, of things that you enjoyed during your day. In particular, I don't believe in coincidences. I think that the universe orchestrates these things for their amusement. And I particularly like to note those things. But if you can note things that work well for you, that's another very popular one with my clients. So here's the field work. Again, we like to say each week that coaching without action is just entertainment. And as tempting as it might be to just stream the next podcast in the series, we really want you to take the time to draft these things that will reform your work and your attitude in the workplace. So, and I would encourage you, for the purpose of this podcast, to really think about what are 20 things you could do at work that would feed you. And things like offering to bring another person a cup of coffee when you get your own coffee, to leave the workplace for your lunch and actually take a lunch, to take a walk with a coworker during your breaks, things like that. Take breaks, things like that. So start with 20, narrow it down to 10, see if you can practice those 10 consistently for a week. If something doesn't take, don't beat yourself up about it. It's probably setting an aspiration too high or too big a jump, sort of couch potato to Iron Man. See if you can do a smaller version of it, or if you can get some assistance with it, like loop in a coworker. And I would encourage you to do this exercise as a staff meeting icebreaker. This is something that everybody gets pretty creative about, and they do fun things. One of the best experiences I had in my career, in my previous corporate life, was I went to Bulgaria to do leadership training for their team. And there were all these dogs out in front of the building. And I was like, who do these dogs belong to? And they were like, us. And I was like, what? And they said, yes, we've adopted them. We feed them. If they need care, we make sure they get care. But they live here. They live, outside the building, and they are our friends. And it was just the sweetest thing. I absolutely loved it. It was just a great testament to the character of the people in Bulgaria. But clearly it was something that made them all very, very happy. So, love that memory. So, please let us know what you drafted, what took. If you need help getting something to take, you need to be able to structure that cue, the routine, the reward that comes with it. We're here to help. So you can send us a message at podcast@shaunacorden.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we look forward to meeting with you again next week. Take good care.